Okay, so this is an in-depth demo of all of the main features of Cite-Builder. Just as a quick recap, Cite-Builder is a web-based application that allows you or enables you to more quickly create citations for your genealogical sources. Now, what I'm looking at here is the main premium screen. If I was to go to the basic screen, you'll see there is a cut down number of options. What I'm going to do is I'm going to demo mainly showing the premium screen, and where I'm showing you a premium option, I will point out that it is a premium option. So under these 29 or so blue tiles, we call these rule sets. We have currently, at the time of recording, something of the order of 580 rules for citing genealogical sources. So about 580 different types of genealogical source you can cite. You can see, looking at the rule sets that we've got, some of the obvious ones that you'd expect, like civil births, marriages and deaths, parish registers, censuses and musters, wills and probate. We've also got things like monumental inscriptions. So, for example, a headstone seen in person. And that's interesting. It's important to point that out because, for example, some of the other applications like Ancestry, they provide a citation for sources found within Ancestry, but obviously you will be finding your information from sources across many other types of source, including things like, again, some of the DNA tests, maybe some artifacts and heirlooms. Perhaps you've found your grandma's birth date inscribed in a locket. Perhaps you found a wedding date inscribed in the inside of a wedding ring. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you an example of a typical way that we might go about creating a citation. So in this example, let's say that I am citing a baptism record found in a parish register from an English church, and let's say I found it online, a digitized copy online on Ancestry. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to first of all, what I'd do is I'd look for something which was an overall match for the type of source that I'm trying to cite. So in this case, it's a parish register. Then I'd start drilling down. Okay, it's a baptism. Now I'd look across these rules. Now you can tell these are rules rather than rule sets. Let me just jump back up a level. So rule sets have these little arrows at the bottom, which means that you can expand them. When they don't have the arrows, that basically means that you've reached the bottom of the tree, and these are the actual rules. So have a look here. I've got different rules for the different ways that this baptism record could be found. In this case, I'm going to say it's a digitized copy online. So having clicked on it, you'll see what I have is a number of fields which are displayed, and these are all the different types of different bits of information that I'm going to need to include in my citation. Now it's a little more complicated than that, because I've got these three black boxes here, these three black tiles or buttons, are the different styles of citation that I have available for this particular for this particular type of source. So I've got evidence explained, Strathclyde and University of Tasmania. So the Strathclyde and University of Tasmania are both very specific citation styles that were created for those academic institutions. Whereas evidence explained is obviously the sort of the de facto standard, certainly across the United States, for citing genealogical resources. If I just go back up, say, to the top level, and I'm just going to pick books and authored books, let's say a single volume, you can see here that we're a little bit more further ahead with populating out the rule with many more different styles. So if you were citing a book, for example, you'd have a choice of 8 different styles. Chicago, Evidence Explained, Harvard, the Library and Archives of Canada, because again they have their own specific type of citation style. MHRA, Society of Australian Genealogists, and Strathclyde and University of Tasmania. So I'm just going to go back now to the back down to my parish register. So I'm presented with all of these fields, and I've got for these 3 styles. Now what I can do, as it explains on the up here in this text, if I hold down the Shift key and I click on the style I want, I now have most of the fields have red borders. Some don't have any borders at all. So if you see birth date and collection name, well, I say they don't have any borders, they don't have any red borders. And the page or image field has a dotted red border. Now what this means is, if it's got a solid red border, because I clicked on Evidence Explain, because if it's got a solid red border, that means that I have to have it. I have to include it. It has to be in the style. It has to be in the citation, rather. If it has a dashed border or a dotted border, it means it's optional for Evidence Explained. So if I put something in there, we'll use it. If I leave it out, it's not a problem. And if it's one of these 2 fields that doesn't have a red border or a dotted red border, it doesn't get used at all by Evidence Explained. If I click on, say, Strathclyde, you can see in that case, let me just, again, the country is required, the church name isn't required at all, isn't used. The birth date is optionally used. If I go to Evidence Explained, birth date is not used at all. Generally speaking, you'd know which style you were going to use, but perhaps if you don't have all the information, you might cherry pick which style to use so you can form a valid citation with the information that you have. Anyway, let's go back to Evidence Explained. And at this point, I would type in the information that I've got from the source. I'm not going to type in all the information that I've got in the source. That's not the point of a citation. But I'm going to type in the information that is required in the citation from the source. Now, if I was a basic user, I would have to type it in. Or obviously I could paste it in from somewhere else. Because I'm using premium, I'm now going to show you sort of one of the first premium features, and that is favorites. And that's sort of indicated by the fact there is this purple heart with a little plus there that says save as favorite. And there's also this drop down arrow. So this means that in the country field, I've got a number of favorites. These are countries that I am using all the time. If I want to add one, let's say I'm going to add Iceland, and I want to add it to my favorites, I just click on this button here and it adds it to my favorites. Now, I can type in new countries to use and I don't have to save them to my favorites. I can just type it in and it'll use it for this citation. So what's the advantage of adding it into the favorites? Well, the clear advantage is that once I've added it once, I can just pick it from the drop-down list. And the other advantage is that any other citation rule that has a country field, I get access to the same list. So I start building up this list of, in this case, countries, which are relevant to my particular research, and I can use them across all of the different types of source citation I'm creating. Where there is a country field, I will have access to those country favorites. So now I'm going to go down and I'm going to fill out the rest of the information, and where I can, I'm going to use values that I've got saved as favorites. Obviously, in the real world, I might be putting in different values as I encounter a new church or a new place or whatever. But right now, I'm just going to use things that I've got in my favorites just for expediency. Now we come to the date, and this is another another important part of Cite-Builder. Depending on what kind of citation you're using, or what kind of citation style you're using, what type of source you're citing, the date format is going to vary. Sometimes you might be asked just for a year. Sometimes you might be asked for a month and a year, and you might be asked for them, and it might be stipulated that the month is spelt out in full, or it might be stipulated that the month is given as a 2-digit number. Or it might be stipulated that the number is given as a 3-character abbreviation of the month name, or many other different versions. You don't have to worry about that when you use Cite-Builder, because what you will do is you'll just type in the date in this fairly standard format, and then we will convert it into the format that it's needed when we create the citation. You'll see that shortly. Okay, let's go into the person names. I'm just going to put in Fred, and our surnames are always favorites. Fred Smith. Again, as I said before, if I wanted to type in a slightly different name, or maybe I have a different spelling I need to use, I can just type that in. But in this case, I'm just going to grab the favorite. Register type, I'm just going to grab a value I saved before. The date range of the register. So again, this is just something that's specific to this type of source and the citation style. The page or image. Now I'm going to put in here a page number, and then the website title. Once again, these are all, you could type in a new value there and just use that. You could type in a new value and you could save it as a favorite, or you can pick from your favorites. And you can probably see by now that over time you're going to build up a nice sort of library of these favorites, which really is going to save you an awful lot of time when you're inputting this information. Also, it'll save you typos, especially when it comes to things like URLs, which are very easy to type in incorrectly, especially if you're in a hurry. So over time, you're going to build up these sort of lists. Finally, I've got access date. And this is the date at which I accessed that source. I would type in, a date. Let's say the 8th of March, 2024, and that's fine. To make it easy, though, for premium users, note that they're purple buttons, and you probably might have worked out by now that if it's purple, it's for premium. I've got these convenient buttons to use today and yesterday. So I've now put in all the information that I need. Now, I'm just going to be a bit cheeky here, and I'm going to clear out this field, this URL field. I'm going to go to create the citation by clicking on the evidence explain button again. And you can see it's given it a go, but we've actually got a problem because there's a missing field. Well, not surprisingly, because it said that we needed it. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to put it in. I'm going to click the button again. Now you can see what I've got. So I've got my 3 different formats of the evidence explained citation. I've got my first footnote, my subsequent footnote, and my bibliography. If you look at it, you can see that the name has been formatted different ways as required by the citation. So here we've got first name and surname. Here we've just got surname. You can see certain things like ancestry, like the website title. The evidence explained standard wants that in italics, so we've done that. We put that in italics, and here as well. So now I've got these citations. What do I do with them? Well, I'm going to click on this copy button against the first footnote, and I'm going to go to, say, a Word document that I'm creating. I've already said Fred Smith was baptised on St Luke's Church in Blockley, Gloucestershire on the 1st of March 1800, and I've got a footnote there. So let me go down here to the bottom, and I'm just going to paste in that footnote citation. Easy as that. You see, again, because I'm pasting into a application which supports rich text, the italics are preserved. If I was going to paste into, say, a database field or something that didn't accept rich text formatting, then just the text gets pasted in, but all the information is still there. Now then, going back to this, while I've still got this on the screen, of course, what I can do is I can put in some information, let's say for Fred's younger brother. Let's say he was, and his record was found on page 4 of the same register. And I will generate another citation. There's the new citation for Michael Smith's baptism record. But what would happen if I wanted to save a lot of this information and come back and cite this same source again a number of times? Let's say Fred and Michael have numerous siblings, and we want to come back to this resource a number of times to cite it. What I can do is I can just clear out the fields here which are specific to those particular siblings. We'll clear out the date as well, because we might access the source on different days. And I'm going to scroll down, and I'm just going to click on Save as Template. I can give this any name I like, so I'm going to call it St Luke's Parish Registers Baptisms on Ancestry, let's say. We also, we get the option to choose which styles we want to keep. Now, we don't want to keep Strathclyde and University of Tasmania in this case because we don't use them. We're only using the evidence explained. So I'm going to save that as a template. And if I now go back to the top level of Premium, you can see that I've got, right at the end of this row of sort of pale purple tiles, I've got St Luke's Parish Register Baptism on Ancestry. So these purple tiles here are, again, premium features. So if I'm using basic, I don't get the option. I don't get favorites, the option to save favorites, and I don't get the option to save templates. If I'm using premium, I get both those options. So when I click on the template, here's the information. Here is the rule, but it's pre-populated with the values that I left in the template. I'm just going to put in the some info, so the baptism date of, let's say, Fred and Michael's younger sister, and so it's Jane. And let's say she was on page 5 of the register, and we access that source today. And there is the citation. So again, you should be able to see that over time you're going to build up a number of templates, which really to sources that you're accessing regularly, and you can really start saving time by sort of using those templates. Let me just go back to the top level here. If I want to, I can drag my templates around to reorganize them. I can, if I end up with templates that I don't want anymore, and it's kind of likely that over time I'm going to build up quite a few of these things and I might not need all of them, I can just drag and drop them into this sort of waste paper or this dustbin here to delete them. Now, notice there's no undo, but you would have noticed that there is a prompt to prevent you from accidentally deleting. Now, what you can do is you can just hold shift and you can drag straight into the dustbin and it won't prompt you. But that's at your own risk. So other things, obviously over time you're going to build up a number of templates. So let's go to manage personal templates. And this is just another way of some extra options to manage your templates. From here, you can move them around. If I hold shift down and click on the down arrow button, it'll go to the bottom. Shift up arrow, it'll go to the top. So I can reorder any of my templates around. Let's grab this one here, Sydney Morning Herald on Trove, move it up to the top. Of course, you can do that from the main screen as well. You can also delete them from here, and you can edit them. So if, for example, I've decided that I want to put the year in here, so that date range of the baptism register, I can do that, save my changes. So you can do some renames here. Now, let me put that back up at the top. Now, you can also export all of your templates to a file, or selected templates by selecting them here. And you can import templates from the file. So why would you do that? Even though we save your templates in your user profile on the server, look, it's a good idea from time to time, especially if you've created a lot of templates, is to export them to a file. That way, if you accidentally delete them, then you can go back and you can recover them by importing them back in from that file. But more useful is the fact that you can share templates. So if you've got a cousin, let's say, or a colleague who's researching a similar or a similar part of the family or a similar place or whatever, what you can do is you can export all or some of the templates and then send them to them, because it's just a text file. You can send them to them and they can import those templates into their Cite-Builder, because they have to be using Cite-Builder and they have to be using Cite-Builder Premium to do this. But if they're doing that, then they can import your templates and they can use them alongside their own, or they can overwrite their own. When you import, you'll give them the choice of whether you want to overwrite or append to your own templates. Let's go back to top level. Similarly, with favorites, you've got a management sort of screen here where you can go through and you can edit all of your favorites. What things you can do is you can actually edit them. You might decide that you actually really didn't want an apostrophe in St Andrews. It should have just been St Andrew or something. So what you can do there is you can go in and you can edit that favorite. You can change the order, so you can do the same sorting options that we saw before. By default, the most recent favorite that you create always appears at the top of the list, but you might say, for example, want to put it into alphabetical order, and then you might want to move St Luke's up to the top. you're accessing that all the time, so you want that at the top of the list to make it even easier to and quicker for you to create your citations. And similar to the favorites, you can select a number of your favorites, or you can export that selection, or you can export all of them, and you can send them to someone else who's using Cite-Builder Premium, and they can import them appending to their own lists of favorites, or overwriting their own favorites completely, and then they're using the same lists of favorites that you are. So you're getting consistency between both of your citations. And of course, speeding up their work, or inversely, if they've sent you their templates and their favorites, then it's speeding up your work. So I'm just going to scroll to the bottom here, and you can see the same sort of export and import functions that we had for templates. So the final premium feature is the rule search. So let's say, for example, like I said, we've got about 580 rules behind these 29 rule sets, which are nested. Some of them go down 3 or 4 levels until you actually get down to the rules. Hopefully we've laid it out reasonably logically, but you might be trying to find something that's perhaps a little tricky to find. So you might just go and use rule search. So let's say, for example, I want to find the US Census. Doesn't matter that if the searches aren't case sensitive, so don't worry about the fact that I've screwed up and put capital E there. And I'm just going to search. And there's 2 rules that match US Census and 1880. I'd click on one of these, I'd fill out the information, and of course, if I wanted to, I could save it as a template. I'm not going to do that here. If we go back to rule search, we can get fairly sophisticated here. We can sort of do. You could put in 2 search criteria. We can combine them with an or. So if it contains family Bible or family history book, we could do that. We could do and not. We can decide whether or not we want to match whole words only. So if for example we say births, or birth rather, and we say whole words only, it's only going to find things that contain birth. Whereas if we say births, or rather if we take off that, it should find births as well as birth. Now you might say, well, hang on a minute, you put in birth and it came up with a death certificate. Well, what's all that about? Well, as I hover on it, what you can see is it found it in the civil births, marriages, deaths and divorces rule set. So it was matching on the births or birth in that rule set name. If I don't want it to do that, I can uncheck paths and keywords. So I'm only looking in the rule names. So the rule names are what appears in the blue tile. But if I want to expand it, if I want to expand that search a bit more, and also look in the paths to the rule, then I can do that. So coming back to the main screen, just to recap, behind these 29 or so blue rule set tiles, we have something like 580 currently, 580 rules. These paler purple ones here on this row are my personal templates that I've created from those rules. and that is a premium feature. We also have, and we can manage those personal templates a number of different ways. We also have favorites, which you saw are lists that we can use of frequently used values that we are populating as we go along. And we have rule search, which is another premium feature, which allows us to quickly search the sort of our database of 580 plus rules, again, with various matching criteria to find the rule that you're looking for. With a basic version, you have access to about half, or perhaps slightly less than half, of the rules. If you don't have access to it, it'll have this little purple, little padlock on this purple background. Let me go to another one here. Let's go to Archives and Special Collections. You can see here, as a basic user, you don't have access to any of these, but you do have access to most of the more general vital record types and so on. So that's basic. You don't get personal templates, you don't get favorites, you don't get rule search. Premium, you get everything. There's a detailed user guide. There's an FAQ. We have a blog where we've got various bits of information and articles about citing sources, and there are some videos. And of course, you can always contact us, and you can contact us through this contact form here, or what you can do when you're actually using a rule. Let me come down to rule here. There's an option here to send a comment about this particular rule, and that actually gives us the context of what you're doing as well. We're very much driven by user input. So if you come across a type of source that you can't figure out how to cite, and you can't find anything that you think is appropriate, then get in touch, and we can generally either point you at the appropriate rule, or we'll add a rule. There's so many different types of source out there. It's highly unlikely that we've covered every single one. But if you identify them and let us know, then we can add them. Similarly, if there's a citation style that you think is missing, just let us know and we can add it. We can generally turn it around pretty quickly. So that is Cite-Builder. Thank you for your time, and please do sign up to Premium. And if you have any questions, you now know how to contact us through the contact page. Thank you.